Hello and welcome to Nicole's Tips. In this tutorial, we'll look at Natarajasana or dancer pose. I'll give you 3 main tips for a really strong dancer pose. So the first piece is to find the archer's twist. What do I mean by that? I'll show you. So you can turn along with me to one side so that we can see each other and be matching each other. You'll stretch both of your arms out in front of you, and just like you are with a bow and arrow like an archer, you'll keep one arm forward and then pull back as though you have an arrow in the other one. As you pull back with one arm, you'll keep the back elbow bent to start. You don't want to turn through your hips. You're turning just through the chest, just through the upper chest. So you might even feel like you're kind of twisting the hips or the pelvis in the opposite direction as you're twisting through the chest in order to keep both sides of the pelvis pointing straight forward. Now, keeping the twist through your chest, you stretch your back arm all the way straight. Okay? Keeping the twist through your chest. With the bow and arrow, you're just pulling back before the release. Okay, and then lower both arms down and we'll do the other side. So stretch your arms forward. And from here, again, you'll pull the other arm back this time as though you're an archer and you're getting ready to release the arrow. Remember, the twist should be happening in your chest, not in your hips or pelvis. All right, I'll show you what not to do for a second. Don't let your hips turn the same direction as your chest. In fact, you might get the sensation as though you're twisting your pelvis in the opposite direction. And then extend the back arm. And we're extending the back arm because this is exactly what you want to feel in your upper body for a really successful dancer pose, Natarajasana. Okay, and bring your arms down by your sides. So we found the archer's twist. Now we have to stabilize our foundation, which the foundation of this pose is the legs, the feet and the legs. So standing with your feet about hip width distance apart, spread your toes, even lift all 10 toes up away from the floor. This activates and lifts the arches of your feet. Keep the lift in the arches of your feet and lay your toes back down, keeping them spread, keeping an awareness of your toes on the floor or mat. Lift up through the muscles of your legs, through your lower legs, and then from your knees all the way up through the fronts of your thighs, up the backs of your thighs. And this will start to create a really strong foundation, but then we need to shift our weight to one foot. So keep this strength through your legs, the lift in the arches of your feet. Shift your weight to one foot, doesn't matter which one. And lift the heel of the opposite foot. From here, with the leg that your weight is on, you want to hug in towards your midline through your outer hip. These are your hip stabilizing muscles, and this is what makes the leg super, super strong, steady. Keeping that hugging in through the outer hip, just simply float the other foot up off the floor a tiny bit. Feeling a strong column of energy through the standing leg side, all the way up to the crown of the head on that side. And then switch. And shift your weight to the other foot. Lift the arches of your feet. Lift up through the muscles of that leg. And then hug toward your midline with the outer hip muscles. And float the other foot up away from the floor. And you're just feeling for that connection from your foot on the floor up through the crown of your head. And then place that foot down. We're going to add one more piece to this of finding that really stable, strong foundation through the leg. So this time around, we will use a specific side so that we can sync up with one another. Shift your weight to your left foot. Strengthen your leg. Hug your outer left hip in towards your midline. And then you're going to kick your right foot back. Clasp the outer edge of your foot this time. So clasp the outer edge of your foot, hugging your inner thighs in. The aim is to just come into this starting position and find stability through the left side. And then lower your right foot down. We're going to switch sides. Shift your weight to your right foot and strengthen your leg. Let the arches of your foot hug in towards your midline with your outer right hip muscles. Kick your left foot back. Clasp the outer edge of your foot with your left hand. Again, we're just staying here and finding that nice, strong column of energy through the right side of the body. And then you'll lower it down. All right. Our third piece of finding a strong dancer pose is initiating with neutral pelvis and then kicking back. Right? And so what does that mean? Neutral pelvis takes us out of what wants to happen, especially when you lift the one leg up in preparation for dancer pose, and doesn't really can tend to pinch in the low back. So not only is it not as optimal for getting into the position, it could put some strain on the low part of the back, so we don't want that. When we're just standing, most of us have what's called a little bit of an anterior tilt, and I'm going to overemphasize a little bit. It's this kind of buttocks moving back. Sometimes this is called sway back. Right? In order to find neutral pelvis, we need to create a specific action. It's a type of pelvic tilt. So I'm going to lengthen your tailbone down, your buttocks down towards your heels, and think of zipping from your pubic bone all the way to your belly button. Zip. You should feel some tone in your buttocks, some tone and lift through your legs. So tailbone moving down, and from your pubic bone lifting up and zipping up towards your belly button. Okay. And just to juxtapose, come back and release again, allow the buttocks to come back. So what we don't want is this. Again, find neutral pelvis, lengthen your tailbone down, zip from your pubic bone to your belly button. Right. Now, once you have that, you can come into the rest of the pose, and if you're initiating the back bend with neutral pelvis, then you can simply kick straight back and open up into the full expression of the back bend. Remember, with our archer's twist, we don't want the hips to turn the same direction as the chest. So before we come into the full expression of the pose here together, I want to show what not to do. With the archer's twist, okay, we have the front arm in place in the preparation stage for dancer pose. Then as you come into it, it's important to keep both sides of the pelvis pointing straight forward. Otherwise, if you turn it open this way, this is when it gets really unstable. So juxtapose with keeping the pelvis pointing forward, and the twist happens through the chest. And as you can see, we're just aiming for a more upright form of this pose today. You can see the archer's twist here. I'm trying to keep both sides of the pelvis pointing straight forward and just kicking back and up. And before I come into it, I'm holding in the quad stretch in order to find neutral pelvis and then coming into it. All right, so let's try it together. We'll start balancing on the left foot. Shift your weight to your left foot, lift the arches of your foot, strengthen the muscles of your leg. Hug in towards your midline with your outer left hip. Then kick your right foot into your right hand. From here, we'll find neutral pelvis. So lengthen your tailbone down, zip from your pubic bone to your belly button. Line up the fronts of your thighs as best you can. Initiating the archer's twist, stretch your left arm forward. Then keep both sides of your pelvis pointing straight forward. You're just going to kick straight back and up. Staying mostly upright in this form of the pose, lift your chest, your sternum up, and then once you've found the maximum lift through the back leg, you're going to kick back. Stretch forward with your left arm, kick back to stretch your right hand back. Finding that twist through your chest and your arms, keeping your gaze over the front fingertips. And then keep kicking into the back hand as you come out. And stand tall. And we'll do the other side. From here, shift your weight to your right foot. Lift the arches of your foot, strengthen your leg, hug in toward your midline with your outer right hip muscles. Kick your left foot into your left hand. And find neutral pelvis. Lengthen your tailbone down, zip from pubic bone to belly button, line up the fronts of your thighs. Initiate archer's twist by stretching your right arm forward. Then, from here, keep both sides of your pelvis pointing straight forward as you kick back and up, straight back and up. And once you've kicked quite high, then you'll find that archer's twist more, stretching forward more through your right fingertips, kicking back more into your left hand. Keep kicking back. Look out over your right fingertips. Keep kicking into your left hand as you come all the way out. And lower down. So, those are my 3 tips for a really strong dancer pose, Natarajasana. Hope it helps.